It is no secret that the world is run by parasitic plutocrats who don't even care for their own people. I'm sorry to say this, but I have to call this out. This system has gone on for too long because unwitting people who are gullible, who thought they were doing good, who thought by taking part in the system would help their communities, have allowed this parasitic evil system to persist far longer than it needs to exist. And these people have ended up being nothing but useful idiots in the eyes of the parasitic elite. So they need to be called out. Who are they? Let's take a look. So before I say who they are, I need to explain a few points. I am definitely not the only person who has been saying that the international world order, the institutions, the international law, the democratic systems, and the nation states, they are not tools to be used by anyone and everyone for the betterment of society. They were never that. Rather, they reflect and they are there to serve Western interests, Western ideology, Western benefits, and Western values. Now, this has been said over and over again, year after year, but it was dismissed as hyperbole by many people. But now, Donald Trump has removed the hijab from all of this for everyone to see what the international order was about and what the democratic systems and nation states were about. To some of us, this is not a revelation because the system has always worked like this. But now, the people are hearing it from the horse's mouth.
We knew the story of the international rules-based order was partially false, that the strongest would exempt themselves when convenient, that trade rules were enforced asymmetrically. And we knew that international law applied with varying rigor depending on the identity of the accused or the victim. This fiction was useful.
Many enlightened people have said that the United Nations was always a tool for the Americans to enforce their hegemony over the world. However, the illusion spun was that it was an objective umpire or referee to arbitrate between nations to solve disputes. This was never the case. Now that America feels that the UN is outdated and is actually getting in their way to achieve their goals quicker, they have dismissed it, abandoned it, and created a new board of peace, so-called, in order to achieve their interests without the red tape and the bureaucracy of the international world order. In the blink of an eye, UN institutions like UNRWA, UNRWA, which have been working for decades in Palestine, will have no role to play in Gaza and in the so-called vision that they have for Gaza. So this institution that many people believed was an impartial umpire or referee to regulate issues in the world has gone in a puff of smoke. And no doubt there will be people amongst us who will say that the king is dead, long live the new king, and will feel that we can work with this new organization. But at least now, when people say that, you will recognize them as agents of maintaining the status quo and not agents wanting a change. The illusion that the West is a bloc and united. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that the disbelievers are not united. They have differences amongst themselves.
تحسبهم جميعا وقلوبهم شتى ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يعقلون.
So you would think they were united, but their hearts are divided, and it is because they are a people devoid of wisdom. So America has removed the hijab for everybody to see the division and dispute amongst these people. America is now openly insulting the European nations that sent their soldiers to die for them in Afghanistan. She wants to invade Greenland, which is owned by one of her allies, Denmark. She embarrasses the West by invading Venezuela and stealing their oil without any legitimacy and any pretense. There are now even some European countries saying that they are even going to boycott America in the forthcoming FIFA World Cup. And democracy was always used by the West as a slogan to justify anything and everything by it. So the Zionist colony, which they call Israel, was defended because it's the only democratic state in the Middle East. The United Nations was defended by saying it's the only democratic global institution. They would claim that the West is the free world because they are democratic. Democracy has always been a veil behind which this system operates. This parasitic, plutocratic, capitalist system gets its legitimacy through the ballot box. So when people vote, it gives them the moral mandate. When people vote, it gives them the legitimacy and the right to rule. Democracy gives the masses the vote to vote for the puppet, but the puppet strings are pulled by the parasitic, plutocratic, capitalist elite that define foreign policy and the real important policies that the government enact. And we are now seeing openly how the world is defending and protecting the genocide in Palestine against the wishes of millions and millions and millions of people around the world. They don't care what the people think. What they care about is the interests of the elite, these parasitic, plutocratic billionaires that really govern the democratic systems around the world. So what they mean by democracy is merely voting. And voting doesn't allow you to change the system. And that is why many people don't really describe the West as the democratic West, but rather the capitalist world, because that is the real ideology, the real system which governs affairs, not just in the West, but around the world. So who is it that needs to be called out? It is those people who have championed democracy, those people who have called for change through the ballot box, those people who believe that working in the framework of nation states to bring about Islamic change in the world, they need to be called out, because what they have actually achieved is to maintain the status quo. Pharaoh had the magicians to deceive the masses in order to hold on to power. And the capitalists, they have democracy in order to deceive the people in order to hold on to power. We have Islam to shine a light on this corruption, and we have Islam to guide the people to create a new world order, the only world order mandated by Islam.